So basically, I'm going to whistle through this as quickly as I can. I've got 10 slides here, but essentially, um, this describes what a solution to drive the energy transition forwards that I came up with Steve um, several years ago now. So essentially, um, the basis of it is that we need to get the government to put some systemic change in place. And I obviously don't need to persuade all of you guys that there is a crisis going on, but it's in the slide deck because I often do. Um, not only is there a crisis, but it's a really serious crisis, and the the solutions to it are not being implemented. I think everybody might be familiar with that phrase. Um, so what we've been doing what society has been doing to try to solve it is essentially neoliberal the neoliberal approach for the last 50 years since Thatcher and Reagan took power and brought it in. Um, and it's not working. Fossil fuel industry is essentially having its cake and eating it, um, and doesn't intend to stop. The last point there is the important one that essentially they are using every trick in the book to allow themselves to keep on making the profits that they're making. So what do we do about it? You can see that the idea of systemic change, the government bringing in systemic change is obviously crucial, but you can also see by the fact that I have borrowed um, a well-known picture of the British Parliament by Banksy there on the left-hand side, you can see what I think our chances are of doing that. Um, we're not going to do it by being nice people and saying nice things about all of these wonderful things we can do. We're going to have to actually drive it through deliberately with the best marketing techniques that we know. And if we can get the funding and we can get the marketing people behind it. So this is the plan that Steve and I came up with. Essentially, you start out with a citizen's allowance, giving citizens a carbon budget to manage the carbon footprint. This is made up of carbon tokens, which they then have to spend with business to get everything from a loaf of bread to a tank of petrol to a plane ticket, everything, not just things that are energy based, but everything, because essentially everything is energy based if you look at it. And these would flow through the economy and they would be used at the end of the chain, at the end of the supply chain, to control the fossil fuel companies and the amount of fuel that they can produce and import. And that is something that I essentially have been downplaying a lot because the more I talk about that, the more abuse I get on social media. If you say, well, we're going to stop fossil fuel companies supplying fossil fuels to the economy, you start getting highly abusive tweets and texts and all sorts of crap happening. Sorry, I'm just putting my phone on Do Not Disturb. Um, now, this requires a whole pitch deck of its own. But essentially, this is the going back to what I was saying, that we need to persuade people to vote for this, and we need to persuade companies to lobby for it. It's well, how is it going to affect people's lives? And I think, Steve, this is one of your assumptions, is that we can introduce it at a level that won't actually affect normal people.